This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
So why do seagulls live near the sea? Because if they lived near the bay, they'd be bagels. Welcome to Wings and Things, where you'll find real answers to real questions about everything you want to know about pet birds. Care, feeding, bird products, travel, and more. Everything to make your frequent flyer a happy camper. From parrots to parakeets, cockatiels to cockatoos, you'll have a bird's eye view of everything there is to know about your fun, feathered friends. So, spread your wings and get ready to fly on Wings and Things.
Welcome to Wings and Things on Pet Life Radio. I'm your host, Robin Shawokis. Today's topic is Loro Parque Fundacion, 100% for nature. We'll be right back after these messages.
Sitting on a branch overlooking the parking lot, the pigeons watched as a Mercedes pulled in below them. What do you think? One bird said to the other. Should we put a deposit on that car? Stay perched. Wings and Things will be soaring back right after these messages.
What if you could protect the life of your cat with something so simple and affordable that you already use every day? Get ready for the evolution of kitty litter. It's Pretty Litter. Along with all the features you've come to expect from your kitty litter, Pretty Litter's patented and scientific formula will also monitor your cat's health and detect illnesses early while providing industry-leading odor control. 2 kitty litters, same cat, same price. But there's one important difference. Pretty Litter reacts to your cat's waste by detecting health issues simply by changing color. And the key is that Pretty Litter detects these issues before your cat shows symptoms of physical illness or pain, likely saving you major dollars in vet bills while protecting the health of your cat. What do you think, little guy? Ready to switch litter? Pretty Litter. Colorful insight into your cat's health.
Go to prettylittercats.com/cat101 or use coupon code CAT101 to get 20% off your first subscription order.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
A Frenchman walks into a bar with a parrot on his shoulder. The bartender asks, "Where did you get that thing?" The parrot replies, "In France. There are millions of them." Don't have a canary. Wings and Things is back.
Welcome back to Wings and Things on Pet Life Radio. This week, I'm at the American Federation of Aviculture's annual convention in Houston, Texas. The wonderful list of speakers went on, but I was lucky enough to catch up with Dr. David Waugh, director of Loro Parque Fundacion in Tenerife, Spain. Tenerife is an island off the coast of West Africa and is home to the Loro Parque Fundacion, which is the world's biggest and most diverse collection of parrots. Welcome, David.
Hi. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for sitting down to talk with me. As I mentioned, the foundation is the world's biggest collection of parrots. So how did you get involved with parrots in the first place?
This goes back a while. I've always been interested in birds, and I grew up in England where there weren't that many parrots, but at a fairly early age, I was kind of 10 or 11, I decided to keep and breed budgerigars, and that was moderately successful, and it kept me busy doing something that I evidently like to do. Then other things took over, studies, and I kind of left the budgies behind and didn't go back to parrots for a long time, but I had always been interested in birds since ever I could remember. So I went to university and I studied zoology, but with a particular interest in birds, in ornithology. But at the same time, I maintained my passion for bird watching, and so I would always, in my spare time, go off and look at birds in the beach or in the forest or wherever it might be. Then I moved to South America, and I got some work because there are a lot of parrots in South America. I got some work going to look at particular problems that certain species of parrots had, conservation problems in different countries like Ecuador and Brazil. And really it was from then, which was like in 1994, that I started really to get back into interesting work with parrots. Not so much at that time with parrots in captivity, but with parrots in the wild. And then an opportunity came up for me in 1995, at the end of 1995, to join the Loro Parque Foundation. And this was a wonderful opportunity which I immediately took, of course. And this led me back into work with captive parrots because of the foundation's marvelous parrot collection. But not only that, the foundation continued to have to work with parrots in the wild, and so therefore I could bring my experience of going and looking at parrots in various countries of South America to the job that I then got in.
That's
in
great.
The foundation.
Now, what's your fondest memory or the most exciting memory of being out doing field work with birds in general, but parrots or?
Well,
can you name one, or are there just so many?
Yeah, boy, there are so many wonderful experiences that I could relate. I mean, one particular wonderful experience, but sad at the same time, was that in 1996 I was in Brazil, in the northeast of Brazil, in the very dry, almost semi-arid area, which the Brazilians call the Caatinga. And this is the home of the Spix's macaw. Now, the Spix's macaw is an iconic species of parrot because it is now extinct, as far as we all believe it's now extinct in the wild. And it went extinct in the year 2000 when the last wild male disappeared. But I had the privilege to be able to see him in his natural habitat in 1996, and I took a photograph of him, which for me is a very poignant photograph. I took a photograph of him sitting on the top of it. He's silhouetted on the top of a tree with the sunset behind him, and he's sitting there waiting for his female to go into the hole in the tree where she would spend the night before he flew off to spend the night on the top of a cactus, a particular kind of cactus that grows there. This female, in fact, was a female of another species of macaw that lives there, the blue-winged macaw, and he had paired up with her because there was no other Spix's macaw to pair. So this was a thrill on the one side, but of course a sad moment because you're looking at the last of a species, and once a species is gone, it's gone. Luckily, there are Spix's macaws in captivity, and we have some at the Loro Parque Foundation, and we are trying to breed Spix's macaws, build up the population in captivity so that we can then in the future put that bird back into Brazil where it belongs.
That had to be an incredible, and as you say, poignant moment. That it's to be able to see an animal like that in the wild. That, I mean, there's probably a handful of people that can say that they've had that experience.
That's right. Yeah, very, very few. And I mean, it's the kind of experience that we don't really want people to have because we want all the parrots that live on Earth today to continue to live on.
And I think too, people don't realize that a lot of people, toss the word extinct around, but it really doesn't always hit home with people what that means, and the impact that we have on that situation, and how we can help, and how organizations like the Loro Parque Foundation is doing things to help. So at the foundation, you are the director. You're the director of the foundation.
Yeah, I'm the director, and that means I'm in charge of making sure that the activities that we do fulfill the objectives and go towards fulfilling the mission of the organization. In a nutshell, the mission is to conserve parrots, and to do this, we run conservation projects in the field for particularly threatened or endangered species of parrots. And then back in Tenerife, through Loro Parque, we run education programs for the schools, the local schools, But that's how we started off. But we've actually expanded out because we use the internet. We use chat and video through the internet to reach schools wherever you like in the world. We're mainly working, of course, in Spain, but we also connect to schools in Germany. We've connected to a school in Thailand, and luckily the technology that we have now means that we can reach globally on our education mission to educate people about parrots and about the problems that they face and what we all can do to help. So that's on the education side. We also, because we have this wonderful collection, we have a responsibility to maintain certain endangered species in safety net populations, and so we have breeding going on in the collection. We would like to call it responsible captive breeding or responsible aviculture, if you like. But we don't just breed rare species; we also breed the commoner species, and it's a fact that many parrot species that have been common in aviculture have been disappearing because people have not been taking enough notice. And one of our goals is to make sure that these forms don't disappear. It's important to have the genetic material because we don't know quite what's going to happen in the future in their wild populations. So if we can have a genetic bank, if you like, then maybe we'll need that in the future.
Now, David, what does, just for folks that are listening that may not know the particular terms, endangered, threatened, what are the definitions, or is there a clear one?
Yeah, there are now clear definitions. These definitions are really established by the World Conservation Union, or IUCN for short. And the bird part of that is undertaken by an international conservation organization called BirdLife International. Excuse me. And they have established very clear criteria for what is a threatened species as compared to a non-threatened species within the group of species of animals, not just parrots but of all animals and all plants, in fact. Within the threatened group, there are separate categories for the level of threat that a particular species might face. So the lowest level is vulnerable, the next level is endangered, and the next level up is critically endangered, and then you have species like the Spix's macaw that are extinct in the wild. And then finally, of course, you have extinct, but by that time it's too late, and we haven't done enough.
Right. Now, among breeders, and is there cooperation with a species that, say, is critically endangered? Is that the goal of the union to kind of bring those people together? And
yeah, I think that we have a responsibility to try to work together, and we have good examples where we can work together. The conservation actions can be many. Of course, conservation ultimately happens in the wild, and so therefore you've got to make sure that you are conserving habitat and taking actions to make sure that the species population is not being depleted by the threat factors that may be. For example, the commonest one for parrots is that people come and take the chicks out of the nests to sell locally, or even try to get them sold internationally. And that causes problems for a great number of parrot species.
And is that still a serious threat?
Yeah, that's a serious problem, and it's something that all governments and non-government organizations which have an interest should work to try to minimize. I don't know if we'll ever eradicate it, but certainly to minimize it. So those are actions that can be taken in nature, if you like. But if we talk about the parrots in captivity, then yeah, responsible breeding, particularly where we can continue to have parrots rearing their own young so that there is a perpetuation of the proper behaviors, which is essential for the perpetuation of a species.
Sure.
Then a lot of private breeders have a lot of good experience where they do have birds rearing their own young. They do provide the right conditions. There are quite a lot of zoos, of course, that have a similar experience and expertise. And so there can be programs which include the zoological community and that include the private breeder community, jointly working on some of these incredibly rare species to bring them back from the brink.
I mean, logically, it feels like it would be common sense, but it is such a big undertaking to do that kind of work that it's not as easy as it sounds or as it should be. But we're going to take a break, and after the break, I'll be back with David, and we're going to discuss some of the cutting-edge work that's happening at the Loro Parque Foundation, and get some information out to the listeners and see so that they know more about what you're doing.
Okay.
So we're going to just take a break.
Stay perched. Wings and Things will be soaring back right after these messages.
Put on a perfectly possum pet party. Having an awesome birthday or adoption day celebration for your four-legged friend? Or just want a fun excuse to throw a fun party with your friends from the dog park? Deck out your party with Molly and Bandit Pet Party accessories. Party products designed specifically for pets. There are wearables, including adjustable pet party hats, bow ties, and tutus. The photo prop kits include funny glasses and hats. The party supplies and decorations include coordinating table covers, party banners, cake decorations, and treat bowls, cups, and bags. Everything you need to create great memories and Instagram-worthy photos. They're available in 2 colorful themes, tropical and fireman. It's a dog's life. Celebrate it with Molly and Bandit Pet Party at mollyandbanditpetparty.com/petlife.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
A Frenchman walks into a bar with a parrot on his shoulder. The bartender asks, "Where did you get that thing?" The parrot replies, "In France. There are millions of them." Don't have a canary. Wings and Things is back.
Welcome back to Wings and Things. I'm your host, Robin Shawokis, and today I'm in Houston at the AFA Annual Convention, and I'm talking with Dr. David Waugh of the Loro Parque Foundation in Tenerife, Spain. Again, thank you so much for being here, David, and I really think it's important that the folks that listen to Wings and Things realize how very serious this situation can be, and the real contributions that folks like you at Loro Parque are doing to help the conservation efforts. And because a lot of folks that have pet birds are involved in conservation efforts here but don't know the whole story, or the long story, if you will. So what kind of stories that you'd like to share with us about what you're doing at the foundation?
Okay, fine. We have the breeding programs, as I've already mentioned, and we also finance and collaborate in field programs for different and sometimes the same species that we have in the breeding programs in our breeding center in Tenerife. To give you one example, we have been funding work in the northeast of Brazil, quite near to where the Spix's macaw used to live, for another species of macaw which is only found in that area as well, and that's called the Lear's macaw. It's a big blue macaw with bare yellow skin on the face and around the eye.
They're absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, they are
birds.
beautiful birds. Yeah, they're quite like hyacinth macaws, but slightly smaller and slightly less brilliant than the hyacinth macaws. Well, they live in an extremely small area in this semi-arid northeast of Brazil. They nest and spend the night on these tall sandstone cliffs which outcrop in a very small area, and then they fly out every day in the morning to feed, principally on the nuts of a single kind of palm called the licuri palm. They feed all day and then they fly back at night to spend the night back on the cliffs. because of that situation where they're so specialized and they're in such a small area, they are very susceptible to any kind of disturbance, and particularly the kind of disturbance where people illegally might be trying to take the young birds and smuggle them to sell, maybe nationally within Brazil or even internationally. So we have been financing work to try to prevent that happening, and also work with the local community who are not the people who do the kinds of bad things that I mentioned. The local community are really nice people. They are really quite poor, and they use the licuri palm nuts quite a lot for their own consumption. And there are also conflicts between them and the macaws, in the sense that the macaws, sometimes of the year when there are not many of these palm nuts around, but at the same time the maize crops are ripening of these poor farmers, they come down and they raid the crops. And if you look at a field of maize once a flock of Lear's macaws has been in there, the poor farmer has lost everything. So we have set up a compensation scheme where the farmers are compensated with sacks of maize if they can show that the damage has been caused by the macaws. And we're trying to work with them, and also with women's groups in the area, to start up arts and crafts industries, if you like, but this is like a cottage industry level, using some parts of the licuri palm. They're making baskets, and they're making artifacts of one kind and another to sell in the local markets, and maybe as time goes on we can get them to sell in the big markets like in Sao Paulo. And this is to supplement their income, and this is one way to get them to understand the importance of the palm and the bird, and really working with nature to improve their own conditions. So we have that, but we also have that species in our breeding center. We've received 2 pairs on loan from the Brazilian government. They're still owned by the Brazilian government, to breed a safety net population of that species, or to help to breed a safety net population there. When we received those pairs, there were only 43 Lear's macaws in captivity. We received the 2 pairs in November 2006, and we've managed to breed them. We feel very proud that we've been able to. And so we've had them breeding in 2007, 2008, and now this year again. We've got a total of 12 chicks now out of them. And so this is one of the kinds of things that we do. We work with the species in the breeding center, and also work with the species outside.
It makes sense to tie it all together too. That now, are you doing education with the children as well in the schools? And because I often approach things from that angle as far as conservation is concerned. That if you can get the children involved so that they appreciate, and then sometimes the parents who are working under constraints where I have to feed my family or I have to make ends meet, the children sometimes are a great advocate. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. In virtually all of the field programs that we have, an important component is awareness and education. That may be with adults, but it's particularly with the younger generation. And so we'll normally have a team of people who make a connection as early as possible with the teaching community, with the local teachers. And introduce the young people to a particular kind of parrot. It's really using the parrot as a flagship. It's using as the parrot, which everybody knows a parrot. Somebody who lives in a swanky apartment in Manhattan, or a poor kid who lives in a little village in the middle of the forest in Brazil. They both of them know what a parrot is, and so we can use parrots the flagships, and we catch the attention of the kids and other people that way, and then teach them about the ecological community, how people interact with their ecological community, how important it is to have forests, not just for the parrots and not just for the birds, but also for the clean water supply to the villages, and to maintain that, because the villages need that clean water. And so on. So this is all part of it.
And it's so important too, because I think here we lose sight a lot of times of that big picture. You know, we know how beautiful the parrots are, but they're from pet stores, or they're from aviculturists. And it's to look at the bigger picture and what's happening out there in the world, and to know that we can be a part of it. I should ask, is there a way that the people who are listening or can help with the foundation? Is there?
Sure. We would be very grateful for any offer of help from anybody. We have our membership. If anybody would like to become a member of the Loro Parque Foundation, then surely we would welcome them. We receive donations. We are happy to receive any donations for any of our work that we do. People can, parrot keepers and breeders especially, can join their local parrot breeder club. They can join specialist clubs. For example, there's the Brodogeris parakeets, those little parakeets from South America. There's a society called Brodogeris Society International, but its base is in the US. And if anybody has those parakeets and they like those kinds of parakeets and they breed those kinds of parakeets, they could join that society, because that society has given some money to the foundation, because we're financing with the government of Peru an important project for the conservation of one of those Brodogeris species. It's called the grey-cheeked parakeet, which only comes from the dry northwest of Peru, and it's an endangered species and it needs help. So the people who are in that Brodogeris society, they're all just ordinary breeders and keepers of Brodogeris parakeets, but they're able to contribute. They've made a contribution that way, and we're delighted with that.
And I think it's so important that we know that there are things that people can do, and it goes back to the story of, well, what can I do? I'm only one person, but that one person can make a difference, that little bit, and if everybody does their part, it's something that with folks like you in a situation in a facility where you can actually impact things. Our support of those foundations, really helps in the grand scheme of things. David, is there a website for the foundation? Is it Loro Parque Foundation?
Yeah, it's probably not easy for people to understand the spelling, because most of it's in Spanish, of course. But it's www.Loro Parque, all one word, Fundacion, which is the Spanish way of saying foundation, .org, O-R-G. But I think if you do a Google search with the two words Loro, and then after that Parque, spelled P-A-R-Q-U-E, then you'll find us.
And the other thing I can do is I do a description of each podcast, and I can put that in the description so that if people go to petliferadio.com, they can find it there. So now, David, I know that there's a very exciting conference coming up next year at Loro Parque. And
exciting,
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, sure. This is our 7th International Parrot Convention. We started these way back in 1986. They happen every 4 years. It's the world's biggest gathering of anybody interested in parrots in any way, shape or form. We have about 850 delegates normally. People get the chance to see our wonderful parrot collection, and they get the chance to hear presentations from some of the world's foremost experts on parrots and their keeping and their conservation, and so on. So that convention is going to take place in the island of Tenerife, September 22nd through 25th, 2010, Tenerife, I have to say, has a wonderful climate. It's like the climate of Southern California. It has wonderful food. It has wonderful landscapes. You can enjoy the beach, or you can go up to the top of the volcano. It's not active, I have to say, which is the highest mountain in Spain, as well as enjoying the wonderful array of parrots that we have there.
I'm going to save my pennies. I think that that's a great goal for people to maybe start saving and check out the website, and it might be something, so plan that vacation, make it a parrot vacation, and
Sure.
and end up at Loro Park. And I think people would be amazed at what you have there, and what what they'd be able to see. And thank you so much, David. I really appreciate your talking with me today. It's I have never been to your facility, and I would really like to someday. And so,
well, next year.
I have to check the calendar. You never know. and speaking of calendars, I do need to go through some upcoming events. But thank you again for being with us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, upcoming events. This is the list that goes on and on. Barbara is not with me today, but I do have her calendar, and some things that are coming up in the next few months. We've got. Barb's going to be from August 8th through the 15th at the Association of Avian Veterinarians Conference in Milwaukee, and she'll be presenting at that event. You can check out www.aav.org for more information. September 19th, Barbara's going to be presenting a day-long seminar on the basics of training parrots with positive reinforcement. That's hosted by Roddy's Feed and Country Store in Clayton, California. And let's see, we've got September 24th to the 29th, I'll be at the International Congress on Zookeeping and the American Association of Zookeepers Joint Conference in Seattle, Washington. And then from the 30th of September till October 4th, I'll be working in the Seattle area with some parrot owners and presenting some workshops, and there'll be more details to come on that. October 10th through and 11th, Barbara's going to be in New York City doing Solving Parrot Behavior Problems. It's a 3-hour seminar on addressing parrot behavior issues, and it's hosted by Uptown Birds. You can visit Uptown Birds at www.uptownbirds.com for more information. October 23rd to the 25th, Barbara will be at Behavior and Learning for Veterinary Professionals in Denver, Colorado. This seminar is hosted by the Gabriel Foundation, and it features Barbara and Dr. Susan Friedman. There'll be hands-on training opportunities. You can visit www.thegabrielfoundation.org for more information. October 24th to November 2nd, I will be working really super hard on the Parrot Lovers Cruise. This cruise is going to Costa Rica, Mexico, and Panama, and you can contact baldmantravel.com for information. There are still some spaces available on that cruise. I'll be speaking, Laura Joseph and Dr. Joseph Morrissey. And November 13th to the 15th, both Barbara and I will be at the Canadian Parrot Conference in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. You can look up the information on that at www.canadianparrotconference.ca. January 22nd to the 24th, both Barbara and I will be at Parrot Festival in Houston. I'll be back in Houston again. You can visit www.parrotfestival.org for more information on that. March 3rd through the 6th, both Barbara and I will be participating at the International Association of Avian Trainers and Educators Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I was just recently in Albuquerque, and I can tell you it's a place to be. You can check that out, the information on that, at www.iaate.org. As always, we'd love for you to visit goodbirdinc.com and theleatherelves.com. My enrichment tip for the week, it's pretty basic. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Species history leads to good enrichment. The more you know about what that species does in the wild and the more naturally you can enrich them, the better off you'll be. So I think we're out of time. And if you have any suggestions or questions, you can contact both Barb and I. You can contact me at robin@petliferadio.com or barbara@petliferadio.com. And as always, if you'd like to receive transcripts of this show, please visit www.petliferadio.com. And we'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.
Join us every week on Wings and Things and get a bird's eye view of everything there is to know about pet birds and how to make your frequent flyer a happy camper. Wings and Things, only on PetLifeRadio.com.